The idea, insight, or secret you need for massive impact is just moments away. It's time to claim your career crown. The podcast where business owners and entrepreneurs share the keys to the kingdom to help you open the vault to your greater success. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Petite to Queen's Claim Your Career Crown podcast. I'm your host, Lynn, and today I'm joined by our wonderful guest, Jon Marino.
Hey, Lynn, how are you?
Yes, I'm so glad to have you here today, Jon. And today we're going to be talking about what Disney secret you can use to create irresistible offers. Creating irresistible offers for your ideal clients while avoiding the 3 types of villains that wreak havoc builds unstoppable momentum for your business. If you get a ton of value in this episode, I would love to invite you to subscribe because it costs nothing to subscribe. Now, Jon is the founder of Q Simple. Aspiring entrepreneurs hire him to legitimize their side hustle with a credible online presence. With years of experience working with clients like Roger Love and Alex Mendozian, Jon combines expertise in copywriting, AI, marketing, and automation to help entrepreneurs make the impact they envision and build businesses that truly matter. Jon also plays a bad guitar. So, Jon, I'm so thrilled to have you here. I'm going to let you get a word in edgewise. Welcome to the show.
Oh my gosh, thanks for having me, Lynn. It's been a long time coming. I know we had talked about getting together and having a conversation on this topic quite a while ago, and I'm so delighted to be able to bring this information to your audience. I think it's really going to serve them well, and I'm excited about that.
Well, I am too, because Jon is really, truly brilliant at what he does. And that's why I kept pursuing getting him on Claim Your Career Crown. And for a little bit of backstory, Jon, I'd love to have you share with our audience what inspired you to get started with Q Simple.
Oh my gosh, that journey goes back all the way to 2004, oddly enough. In 2004, I joined an email list. It was the very first email list I ever joined. I was hesitant to join. I didn't want to put my email in the little box and click the button. It was on a topic of self-help that was where I was dealing with a lot of heavy villains, so to speak, heavy challenges internally for myself, and I didn't want to admit some of that stuff to myself, and I put my email in the box. 3 days later, I looked at that email form over and over and over again, and 3 days later, I put my email in the box, and I joined this newsletter, and this newsletter really helped me to step into myself and become a much better person, a much better man, and a much better friend, and a romantic partner, and all kinds of these different things. And that happened over the course of a long period of time. But I remember sitting with my friend, and I said, this is the kind of thing you didn't really share too much with your friends, that you're on this email newsletter. And I shared it with 2 of my friends, and one of my friends, I said, Anthony, what do you think about that guy and what he talks about? And he said, man, that's some really, really great info. And I can see how he helps a lot of people. And to top it off, he's a really great marketer. And I was like, son of a gun, that's the type of business that I want to have. I want to be able to really help people and show people I can help them and serve them by actually helping them. And it was as soon as he said that, I made the decision that I wanted to get into email marketing. And it took me an additional 5 years to get started. I was working as an engineer, and it kind of sucked the energy out of me. I was working 60, 70 hours a week. I was drained. I would tell people I would teleport from Friday afternoon to Monday morning because it never seemed like enough time off. I was dealing with some other challenges of motivation and all these different things. It took me about 5 years to take off on that. And then I self-studied really from 2009 to 2014, working on some various projects, both personally and um, well, I guess it was just personally at that time, just trying to refine my skills and develop the skills to be able to actually do what I set out to do. And then I started taking clients in 2014. It was under a different business name. Q Simple came out in, gosh, I think 2018 or 2019. But you know what's wild, Lynn, is you mentioned Alex Mendoza in the in my introduction, and Alex has been such an important guy to me. I started working with Alex in I think 2016, and then um, that same guy that I opted into his email list, I saw a training that he did in 2009, and in that training, 2009 or 2010, in that training, he told the story about bamboo, and he was telling about how bamboo, it just doesn't grow. It just sits there for years and years and years, and then one day, boom, it just pops off. It'll grow like a foot a day or something like that. And that story stuck with me. And that guy at the time, he said, my mentor Alex Mendoza taught me this thing about bamboo. And I remember looking back on that moment of saying, I'm going to do this, and I'm studying from this guy who's a master marketer, and his mentor is the guy that I have the opportunity to work with now. And now Alex and I work together to this day. We had a call yesterday, and we're able to provide such valuable impact to aspiring entrepreneurs, motivated startups, and just growing businesses in general. And it's so satisfying. So I mean, that's how I got started. I know it was maybe a little long winded, but it's so exciting for me to share this, how like a long period of time and the things that happen in that long period of time are, you just never know. You just never know what's going to happen, and it's so cool. So
Yeah, well, I love the metaphor with the bamboo because there's foundational pieces to put in place. So then all of a sudden, pow, right?
that's
It just
exactly it.
all comes together. So that gets us into the Disney secret that our listeners need to know about. That what is that Disney secret that our listeners can use to create irresistible offers to get that bamboo shooting up?
And the question you're asking requires a little bit of setting up. And so, with your permission, I'd like to take a minute to just kind of set this up, to set the framework for this, because this Disney secret is so powerful, but without the context, it might just be like cast off as just some other silly thing that some guy on the internet's saying. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
cool. Okay, cool. So you mentioned the bamboo, or I mentioned the bamboo. You brought attention to the bamboo, and that foundation is what's being created during that time. That foundation of the root structure of the bamboo, and it's sort of like when you drive past a construction site and they have the fences up and the vinyls around the fences, and you're like, "Boy, I wonder what's going on in there." And you hear the trucks, and you hear the noises and the pounding and the digging, and you're like, nothing's really happening, but there's a lot of activity going on over there. And then nothing, and then nothing. And then all of a sudden you drive by and there's a brand new building sitting there. And you're like, holy cow, that thing seemed to come out of nowhere. But what they did first is they established that really strong foundation. And that foundation, it's a lot of work. It The stronger the foundation, the bigger the building you can build on top of it. And the stronger the foundation in your business, the stronger the business you can build on top of that foundation. So that's one key aspect of this Disney secret that I'm going to share with you, is the importance of the foundation. The next aspect of it is, we go out there and we think we are the hero to all these people we serve. And that's pretty cool, because we do get to serve a lot of people and we do get to make a dramatic impact in our lives. But I'm going to ask your listeners, and the listener who's listening to this right now, to imagine that maybe you're not really the hero in your client's story. Maybe you're actually the guide in the hero's journey story. Okay, so your client becomes the hero, and you're the one who gets to be the guide to help them overcome any sort of challenges they're having. Now, um, if you go and you research this idea of the hero's journey story, you find that the hero, he's going about his day or whatever, he comes into some problem, he tries to solve it. Maybe there's some things that are going on, meets the guide helps him through and helps him, over that hump. The, um, the interesting thing about heroes and stories and characters in general in stories is that there's an awful lot of character development that goes into the characters of really successful stories. In fact, Walter White from Breaking Bad, I read that the screenwriters or whatever that wrote the pilot for Breaking Bad, they put 300 pages of character development into this guy Walter White. Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird, 100 pages of character development before the pen was put to the paper to write To Kill a Mockingbird. And so I started thinking, boy, oh boy, if these authors are writing these magnificently engaging stories, and they're doing all of this character development, and my client is the hero of their journey, well, damn, I should probably lay the foundation and do the character development to that type of capacity with my ideal customer and client. And I learned this idea from Ben Settle, this idea that I'm about to share with you, including the Disney secret. It's not mine. I didn't create it. Ben Settle, who's a very important mentor to me and a very, very smart copywriter. I was listening to a training that he did, and I was like, damn it, that is so spot on. I've got to share Ben's message about this. And if you have a hero on a hero's journey, and I ask this in front of live audiences, and I say, what makes a good story? And they say the dramatic tension, they say the challenges, they say the the story itself, the hero, the complex character of the hero, and all these different things. And really, it's the Disney secret. It's the thing that make the Disney secrets so memorable, or the Disney movies so memorable. And that's the villains. The villains in the hero's journey story are what make the story so cool and so exciting. And the more dastardly the villain, the more trouble they're stirring up for the hero, the more conflict they're creating, the more the stakes are high, the more the drama. That's what keeps you at the edge of your seat. That's what it is. That's why the Disney movies are very, very profitable and beloved. It's not the heroes. In fact, most of us, and I'm going on about this, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to just really develop this in a really nice way for your listeners, Lynn. It's the wicked stepsisters. It's Scar. It's Ursula. It's not really Prince Charming, although he's pretty cool. It's those villains. And the villains in your client's hero's journey, these are the things that really, really make your client's journey that much more powerful. And you, as the guide, helping the hero overcome these villains, that's where the magic happens, Lynn.
Yeah. No, it's so true. I mean, I can clearly picture and think of all of the great Disney villains.
That's right.
Um, and uh and you're right. I mean, that is what the journey, it's really getting past and around over vanquishing the villain.
That's right.
So this is really fascinating as you're developing this, and the foundation that you're putting. How What is that process look like? How do you put this together for your clients?
How do I put it together for my clients? It's something that I've been working on as my number one project really for the past year. Um, Over a year now. We're over a year now of this journey of doing this for myself, for my clients, and then coming back and doing it again for our company, completely recreating our company, Lan, and then using this as the foundation to serve our clients moving forward. And I've got it down to just a couple of simple steps from our client's perspective, where we sit down, we have a conversation. We have a conversation much like this one, where I'm doing less of the talking and you're doing more of the talking. I'm doing more of the questions. And And during that process, it's a very, very transformative process. About a third of the people I have an interview with, a deep dive with in this capacity, uh, they have an emotional response. They'll cry. They'll just be in shock that they hadn't been asked questions in this way about themselves, their business, and their ideal clients ever, ever, ever. And then we take that 2 or 3 hour conversation. We run it through some tools that I spent the past year developing. They're proprietary in-house tools, and we create. We answer about 50, 54 questions, something like that, about the ideal client. And this is the light version. This is the light version. And that document turns out to be about 15 pages, 15 to 20. It depends on the project that we're working on. And that in itself is more than 99% of the clients that I've ever worked with have ever done to set the foundation for who their ideal client is. Because I learned this interesting thing from Jay Abraham, that if you can define the problems of your target customer better than they can, they automatically assume you have the solution. And that's what causes your ideal clients to raise their hand, to get on their knees, metaphorically speaking, and crawl over broken glass, Lynn, to say, how can I work with you? So there's less selling, there's less pressure. They're asking you, how can we work together? I want to work together with you. And so once we go through and refine that light version of the persona, we run it through phase 2 of our process, and we create about a 65-page in-depth psychological detailed analysis of your ideal customer and client, that address all 3 levels of problems that most ideal clients have, including me, including you, Lynn, including the listener who's listening right now.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so this process and creating this, this now sets up to create those irresistible offers. Is that correct?
That's on point. I mean, you have no idea, because once, as business owners, really what we should be doing is finding problems our market has and bringing those solutions to the market. And a lot of times we get it all confused. And I was kind of a B student in school and stuff like that. Maybe kind of bright in some things, but not too smart in some other things. And I think I got it all figured out. And so I say, I'm going to go create a plan and a program. And that's what I did for the first years of my business and spinning my wheels. Is I'd create a solution, and I'd take that solution to the marketplace, and I'd be like, I've arrived, I'm the hero. And it's all messed up. But once I started switching it around and saying, okay, what are the problems and challenges my ideal customer or client is having? Let me go and create a solution around that, and then invite my client to come and just give me their fair analysis and opinion of my solution. And then they say, how do we do it? How do we get going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, with this groundbreaking work, I can really sort of associate why this creating irresistible offers is such a challenge for so many businesses.
That's right.
But I'd love you to expand upon that. I mean, what is that thing that's holding them back, that's keeping them from, this blind side that they may have?
When you're speaking about the blind side, are you speaking about? Can you clarify it a little bit for me?
Oh, wow.
So
Around creating those irresistible offers.
sure.
I mean, it's, that's one of the biggest
It's a biggest.
stumbling blocks.
Sure. Sure. I got you. So the way I'd answer it is like this. There's 3 types of problems your ideal customer has. Okay. They're the problems they'll tell you about, and they'll have no problem telling you all about them. They'll probably sound like they're complaining quite a bit when they're telling you about the problems. Okay. Then there's the ones they won't tell you about. These are kind of, they might feel, they might not feel great about the problems they're having, and they don't really want people to know about it. They might not even tell their spouse or their therapist about these things. They're kind of under the surface. And then there's the challenges your ideal customer and client, they might not even admit to themselves. Okay. So it's kind of like the surface level villains. They're kind of like the iceberg, and the tip of the iceberg is sitting out on the top. And so when they're telling you their problems, they're really telling you symptoms of the deeper problem underneath that iceberg. The hidden villains are kind of like the walls and the blocks that they have. They're tougher issues, and they hesitate to share them. And then there's the subconscious villains, and these are the sneaky tripwire, and not the marketing term tripwire. These are kind of the sneaky tripwire sort of obstacles that undermine or sabotage your client's success. And so where a lot of business owners stop with creating offers is they only address the symptoms of the
Right.
problems.
Right.
They're only talking around the things that their client will tell them, and they think, boy, I heard a really great idea at a mastermind or an event that I should go survey my audience. And then they go and they put together a survey, and then they get the results, and they're like, I got all this great data. And then they go out and they put together an offer, and it doesn't hit, it doesn't land. And that's where I find that most of the offers are kind of missing the mark. And the offer and the sales process and the copy and what the offer means to the client is really, in my opinion, it's as important, I think. And solving these problems and communicating them in this way is what establishes the ground for you to be able to present your offer. Then your offer, they just need to feel like they're getting it at a discount. And that doesn't mean to discount your prices. What
Right.
that means is they need to feel like, holy crap, this is worth 10 times what Lynn is asking for it. And I can see the potential. And this guy or this gal, they really understand my problems at a really deep level. Uh, it's a no brainer for me to enroll.
Yeah.
And that's how that irresistible offer works. And then there's a number of strategies or tactics really within that to enhance the value of offers. I learned some really great strategies for pricing inside of a book called Priceless: the Myth of Fair Market Value by William Poundstone. I read that book years ago. That helped me learn about pricing and how completely irrational it is. Right. And then, of course, there's the things you see in the infomercials all the time, but wait, there's more, and bonusing in things. And the key way to do this, in my opinion, is to create your offer so it's in a box, and then think about the supporting things that need to happen outside of that box to support someone to actually get the success. And oftentimes you can bonus those in as sweeteners, but they would have been in the offer anyway.
Yeah.
So now you're addressing a specific thing, you're addressing a specific problem. And for example, if somebody wanted a course on how to speak from stage a little bit better, well, you're going to have the presentation. You might have PowerPoint training inside of there. You might have a section on overcoming stage fright. You might have a bonus on how to be more funny on stage. And you support your offer, your overall offer, with these bonuses. And then it's like, hey, the thing's worth this much. We're bonusing in this much. I'm talking about your problems. I'll tell you about how to talk about those problems in just a minute, because there's a very key way, and most people do it all wrong. But this person really understands me. They understand my struggle. They understand my problems. And then it's about putting it out there, Lynn. And most people, they just, there's a block when we go to put it out there. There's a hesitation. There's a perfectionism, like it's not good enough. Like, I did that for years. I can't tell you how many opportunities I missed because I was just too afraid kind of to put it out there. Like I was going to be found out that I didn't really get it or something like that. And you know what? So what? So what at that point? It's it's not for that person that's telling you that it's all jacked up and wrong, and they're not your ideal customer anyway. They're too much of a headache. So um I think that answers your question. If it
Yeah.
did, that's great. And if it didn't, please help me clarify.
No, it really did. And I think that's what's There's always something, there's a stumbling block. And when we go back, when we're thinking about these three villains
Yeah,
that wreak havoc on your ideal client,
right.
I'd love to hear from you. What are those three villains? What
Well,
are they?
I hinted on them just a
Yes.
few minutes ago. I hinted on them. They're the surface villain, the hidden villain, and the subconscious villain. That's them, just plain and direct. Okay, and just real quick recap on that because I think it's important. They're the surface villains are the ones that are the iceberg right on top. The hidden villains are kind of like the walls and the blocks. And boy, I just don't really understand why I'm not able to pull the trigger, or I'm always seeking the next thing and I can't get my stuff done. I never launch something because I have shiny object syndrome, or I don't feel like I'm supposed to be in the room. Boy, oh boy, I just wrote a blog post about that, and we sent that out to our list this morning because that was a massive villain in my life, and a lot of people experience that, even though some of them, they probably would reject it if I brought it up to their attention. But then there's that subconscious villain, and that's the sneaky one. That's the Oh boy, I hesitate to bring some of these up even because they're really kind of delicate. But it's things that well, I'll put it to you this way: one of the greatest living copywriters alive today, his name is Paris Limkropoulos, and he taught me this. Maybe 2 or 3 years ago, completely changed my world, completely changed my life. And he told me, he said, John, your clients, your ideal clients, the people that are in this space right now, the people you pass at the grocery store, we're just giant children walking around in adult suits. And there's things that happened to us when we were children that they served us at the time, these things, these responses we had, but they no longer serve us, but they still create challenges in their life. And one of those challenges that I faced, and I don't even know where it comes from. I need to do some more work on it. I've done work to overcome it, but I want to go back and do some identification and do some even deeper work on it. Is my stuff isn't good enough for other people, right? And if you came up to me and told me about that a few years ago and came at me directly, I would have been like, dude, you're crazy. My stuff's great, right? It's nuts. It's a wild thing, but I would have rejected it. And it would have been really one of those subconscious villains that was kind of eating me up inside. Like I felt the results of it, and it was eating and gnawing away, and I couldn't pinpoint what it was. I wouldn't tell anybody, sure enough, because I didn't even really know what it was to begin with. And what Paris taught me is if you can write stories and metaphors that are addressing these subconscious villains, boy, oh boy, that's a sweet spot. Because what I ended up doing is when he was sharing this with me, he shared some examples of how he would do that. And I started seeing myself in the stories that Paris was telling me. And I was like, son of a gun, that is amazing. So it's through stories and metaphors and lightly hinting and allowing your ideal prospect to put themselves in that situation and allowing them to imagine themselves in that. That's where that transformation starts happening. But the light bulb has to come on for them. It's not ever something you can present to them. They will flat out reject you, and they'll probably call you some 4-letter words. Okay.
Yeah,
um
no, I get it. Totally get it. And
yeah.
what you're talking about, I also have this deep-seated, this desire for approval. And
Oh my
I've
gosh, I
worked on
struggle with
that
that.
to unpack that, right? It's not that I'm
Yeah.
not good enough, but it's that I need this approval. And
Right.
so, but I think that for anyone who does that kind of deep, once you recognize it, you can start to work on it, right? To chip away at, to understand
Exactly.
it and
Exactly
why
that.
it no longer serves you. Yeah.
Exactly that for us listening to
Okay.
this right now. Okay. But Lynn, let's pretend for a moment that you're my ideal client, right? And I want to serve you. I wouldn't come up to you and start saying, hey Lynn, I bet you need a pat on the head to make sure that you're doing all your stuff so good. Like you would be like, who is this guy? right? But if I said something like, you know, Lynn, there was this one time I created this beautiful thing that really helped me in my business to be able to publish blog posts, and it was this neat little technique, and it worked really well, but I kept it all to myself. And you know, I just thought it was like this little thing that I did, and that it was no big deal. And then you know, I just didn't think it was like good enough to put up online and create a thing around it to acquire leads. And you know, I was at a mastermind one time, and somebody asked me for something silly that I do that really was a game changer in my business. And I was like, you know, well, I guess I did this thing, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. And then they came back to me a couple weeks later, and they said, you know, I did that thing you told me, and it really worked. You should really go and put that out there. And then I did. And when I did, the response I got was so great. And it was just because I got a little bit of encouragement from somebody who, you know, they were just kind of cool, and I just shared something off the cuff.
Yeah.
That's the kind of story that might resonate with someone like you. You might have felt it yourself. You might not have, and that's okay too. But you might have resonated with that. And that might make you say, boy, I've experienced something like that. This guy really understands me.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's a great example. So, when for everyone who's tuned in, what should our listeners do next about avoiding the villains while creating irresistible offers?
Well, the thing is for your own villains, you just got to do the reflection.
Yeah.
You just got to do the work. I went out myself, and uh, I I I studied coaching, personal coaching. I need to take my certification exam. It's one of these things I just kind of put off, and the same thing with my hypnosis exam. I go out there, Lynn, and I study, and I take courses, and I read books about how to deal with these things. I ask other business owners once I identify them. I have conversations with them, the people who I can be close with. um, I study neurolinguistic programming, which has fantastic tools to overcome these different things. I'm working on an NLP practitioner certification as well to further help myself, but also to serve other people when and if that becomes a thing. Um, for your offer though, you want to study these villains that your clients are having and get to know them on a very deep and intimate level. The ones that are the challenges that affect them as a child. There's not time to get into all of them. There's probably close to a dozen of them that I've identified, and one of them is abandonment. One of them is self-worth issues and self-worth challenges. We're all kind of dealing with these things on one level or another. The person listening right now is probably like, yeah, I guess I can kind of relate to that. I urge you not, when something shows this mirror and shows you a reflection of yourself, I I urge you to listen to those things and kind of work to unpack them a little bit for yourself,
Yeah.
and then to go deeper and deeper with your ideal client and speak to these things. Don't avoid them, but speak to them. But you kind of have to do it in an elegant, delicate way through story and metaphor.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree, and I love that approach. So, John, is there
Yes.
anything you wish I had asked you today that I have not?
Oh my gosh. I don't know, Lynn. I mean, we could go down several, you know me, I can go off on tangents on things and go deeper and deeper into these things. I think I kept it with your help palatable and focused for your listeners. Um, you know, there's the light, I mentioned the light version of our customer persona, where we answer over 50 questions about our ideal customer. Boy, oh boy, if your audience did just that, they would be so far ahead. There, I can't imagine the results. I'd love to hear the results from your audience after, because I'd like to gift them those questions that they can work on themselves for their market, if that's okay. Is that okay if
Oh
I
yeah,
do that?
that would be amazing.
Okay, cool.
I know that everyone would appreciate it, and I can speak from my own personal experience. This is really transformative. So many people, when they're looking at who their ideal client, they literally have a one-page sheet,
That's right.
and
That's right.
it just has you're not really it's
Yeah.
it's on the surface level. It's almost like fingernail polish. It's not about the health of the actual nail or in the body.
Not at
It's
all.
just it's so surface level. It's not serving you.
It's it's true. It's true. And you know, a lot of trainings and a lot of courses, they're well intentioned and well meaning, and a lot of them start off with a customer persona, customer avatar process. And I believe that even the best one you've experienced barely scratches the surface. And I think you can go so much deeper, even just in these 50 questions. Um, you know, one of the most wonderful questions that gets answered in this process is, there's people that are in your persona's life that are important to them. It could be in a business, it could be the suppliers, it could be coworkers, it could be uh, the, the situation at home, it could be any number of things. And there's certain things that these people say to us in a well-intentioned, caring way that we just have a response to, and it's not a good one. And I'll give you one example, okay? Um, you know, Bob, you have some really good ideas. It just sounds like you have a hard time putting them together, right? Boy, oh boy, if Bob is struggling to stand up in front of the boardroom and share his ideas, and somebody says, you know, you got some ideas, it sounds like you struggle, he might take that really hard inside. And
Right.
externally, he might say, oh, thanks for the feedback, I really appreciate it. Or he might say, boy, that guy's kind of a jerk or whatever. But that's one of the questions that's asked. Who are the people that surround your ideal
Yeah.
customer, and what are some of the seemingly helpful things they ask that the ideal persona has an emotional reaction to?
Yeah.
Boy, oh boy, if you can answer that question, then you start working that stuff into your copy. Um, you know, you could say, you know, and I'm just riffing off the top of my head because this is just some new ideas here, Lynn. Is uh, you know, I was talking with somebody, one of my clients, and you can extract this from a client. Don't make up the story or tell them that it's a made up story. You got to be very honest with your market. But I was talking to a client the other day, and we're working on his public speaking, and he said, you know, I really got to get rid of some of these issues that I'm having because I'm having a hard time putting my thoughts together. And you know, Phil at the office, he kind of brought it up the other day, and it really bothered me because I'm doing the best job I can, but I seem to have this sticking point. I seem to stutter a lot, or I seem to have poorly thought out ideas. And I said, man, I'd be happy to help you do that. And if you're having a challenge like this, I'd be delighted if you picked up the phone and gave me a call. Right? That's an ad right there where I told this
Right.
story, but I pulled the idea straight out of understanding what these what the response is that my ideal client has from people that are in his life. So that's just one of the questions. There's about 50 of them. Some of them are surface level demographic stuff. Of course, that's going to be unavoidable in any type of thing. Some of them you're going to be familiar with. Some of them you probably never heard of or ever thought of before. And this is meant to be something you go through. You go through quickly because you get it done. Because I learned from my mentor, Alex Mendoza, and I learned done is better than perfect, and version one is better than version none. So I'm going to give you the link in just a second. But the point is, go through it quickly. Just get it done. Okay. When you do it. And then It's a living document. I want you to revisit this thing. I want you to go back. I want you to pull ideas that you find. I want you to add it to. I want you to go and find a picture of what this ideal customer looks like, so you can have a one-on-one conversation in your email and in your blog posts and in your sales conversations with this person, because that's where the home run happens. Is it okay if I give the link, Lynn?
Yeah,
I probably built up the tension so much. People are probably like, dude, just give it to me already.
Yes.
Okay. I got to spell the name, because every great business, I tell them, I say, pick a name that's easy to remember and easy to spell. And I didn't do that. It's Q Simple. Okay. It's QUEUESIMPLE.com/questions. Okay. I'm going to spell it one more time, because I know you're listening. You're fumbling for your phone. You're grabbing a pen, whatever you're doing. I'm going to give it to you one more time. QUEUESIMPLE.com/questions.
Absolutely. And we'll be sure to have the link right below, so that it is
Smart.
one click away. So you can get those 50 questions and start working on that to improve your business and make irresistible offers. Jon, thank you so much for sharing what Disney secret you can use to create irresistible offers. All of Jon's links are down below. As you can guess, his website is qsimple.com, and you can connect with him on all his socials as well. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. And Jon, thank you so much for being here. This has been such an informative discussion. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Lynn. It brings me a lot of joy to help your listeners in this way. And my hope is that I've fairly and wonderfully served your listeners today.
Absolutely. It was brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Okay. I did not frozen face.
Oh my God.
What was your biggest takeaway from this episode? I would love to hear about it. It's important to share the things you love. If you loved this episode, a 5-star review really helps keep the podcast coming to you regularly. Also, if you want to get more sales strategies to grow your business, make sure you subscribe right now. If you want to get results even faster, I invite you to download my sales strategy checklist at petitetoqueen.com/checklist. This has been Lynn Whitbeck, host of Claim Your Career Crown. I'll see you next time.